Howdy, y'all. So, gonna start talking about the 7 deadly sins. We're gonna get going with wrath. Especially of late, I've noticed a lot of people are acting out. There's probably a lot of people that are dealing with a whole bunch of buried down emotions that they haven't had to deal with for a long time. It's been okay to not deal with them. And as a society, especially for the men out there, we've been told, just bury that shit down, okay? How many Bill Burr shows do we need to watch where he makes jokes about, just shut that shit down? And then eventually you implode. You explode on everyone else. And it's not good. It's not healthy. It's not great. So let's get into what is maybe the root cause of some of this anger, some of this wrath that we feel on a day-to-day basis, and how can we start to deal with it so in the future, our future higher version of ourselves doesn't have to deal with this shit, okay? Because who wants to be angry? Raise of hands. Who wants to actually be angry on a day-to-day basis? Do you? Or would you rather know how to deal with this shit so we can get it fixed and move the fuck on with our lives? I'm on that team. All right. So to get started, the root of anger, at least in my point of view, is caused by a dissonance between what you're conscious of and what you are unconscious of. So what you're conscious of is your belief system. You're conscious all the time of what you believe in. That's what you think the truth is. The unconscious, coming from the subconscious part of the brain, is, let's say, the global collective consciousness. What the actual truth of the situation may be. And why this causes so much anger and rage in people is, let's say, for example, you're a slightly overweight person, and somebody were to walk up to you and say, hey, you're fat. Now, most of the time, that would cause people to get angry. Now, are you angry at the person saying that you're fat? Or are you angry because of something that's internally going on within you? I think it's not the words, it's not the other person, it's the dissonance caused. Because for a lot of people that have found themselves to be unhealthy, overweight, whatever it may be, this doesn't apply to just health, right? This could be money, this could be relationships, this could be intelligence, this could be anything, okay? Anything. That person probably has conscious beliefs in place that disagree or have dissonance with the unconscious truths. Myself, for example, when I was younger, I was a big boy. I was a real big boy, and I would get livid when people would call me fat. And the reason for this is because I genuinely consciously believed that I was just big boned, that I had a slow metabolism, that, oh, well, my older brother is a big boy too, and, you know, my dad's kind of bigger. It just runs in the family. No, it doesn't. Actually, nobody in that fucking family ran at that time. No one at all. So those conscious beliefs I had built up essentially were a scapegoat. I would use them as a scapegoat for the way I was living my life. And the anger that rose up in me when people would call me fat wasn't at the other person. It was the dissonance caused between my conscious beliefs that were keeping me unhealthy and my unconscious truth. The unconscious truth is what actions was I taking at that time that would have caused me to be healthy. I knew what they were, all right? I was going out and I was drinking all the time. I was smoking. I was eating food late at night, Taco Bell runs and eating, 2 12-packs of tacos. That was a regular occasion for me. And so I kept doing things like that because I consciously believed in my head that no matter what I did, I was just big boned. It didn't fucking matter. So when I got called out for my bullshit and people were like, dude, you're not big boned. You just keep drinking like a case of beer a night and eating Taco Bell. That's why you're fat. That didn't sit so well with me. I didn't like it. It kind of hurt, and it hurt real bad. So in our segue to the future, we need to start dealing with these emotions as they rise up. That anger is actually the key to your salvation. as weird as that sounds. The 7 deadly sins are good things if you utilize them, okay? They're little indicators. They'll flare up every now and then, and that's kind of like a notification to your brain, like, hey, whoa. We gotta look at this. There's something in here that we can look at that will maybe help us change our actions, our beliefs, the words we say, so that we can become what we are meant to be. Because that anger that rises up, if we were absolutely where we're supposed to be, do you think you'd be getting mad? If you have multiple PhDs, let's throw it over to intelligence real quick. Let's say you're somebody like a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk, and somebody walks up to them and says, "You're an idiot." Do you think they're going to get mad? Or do you think they're going to laugh? They're probably going to laugh. And the reason is, there's no dissonance between their conscious beliefs and the unconscious. They're consciously aware that they are incredibly intelligent human beings. And unconsciously, they understand that as well. They use their time, their actions, and all that they are to chase these intellectual endeavors, right? So there's no dissonance caused there. You can say whatever the fuck you want to that person, and they're not going to get angry. They're not going to get mad because they've already dealt with that before. And somewhat in their past, they may have been angry. And that's what drove them to be the person they are now. Because once upon a time, I can't speak directly for those two guys I just named, but imagine if they were a little kid and somebody told them that they're not good enough, that they're dumb. And there was a dissonance caused because they thought they were smart, but unconsciously they knew they weren't doing enough. All right, so that anger, they could have took it out on everyone else, or they could have transmuted it to the understanding within that there's more that they can do. That maybe they're angry because they aren't living up to the conscious belief that they've set for themselves. You want to tell yourself that you're intellectual, but you're not doing everything humanly possible to be as smart as possible? Now, how does that make sense? How can you say, oh, I'm a genius, but you spend all of your time just watching stupid brain rot videos on TikTok, never opening a book, not watching any podcasts, just smoking weed all day? How does that not cause dissonance there? Right? So we have to look into what is causing this dissonance and figure out, are my beliefs bad or is the unconscious bad? Okay? Now, how is this going to work out in day-to-day interactions? All right? For the most part, I want you guys to use this for yourself. If you say something to somebody else and they get mad, it's probably better to just back off. You don't try and push your beliefs on somebody else if they're not willing to change in that moment. If somebody comes and asks you for help, then sure, you can help them. But otherwise, they need to learn to deal with that dissonance based on their own life. And if they aren't ready for it, don't force it on them. It's just going to cause more problems. More importantly, focus on this for yourself. And the activity I want to give to you guys is to sit with your anger. You want to meditate on it, you want to journal on it, and you want to reaffirm it. So if something makes you mad, whether it be relationships, whether it be money, whether it be health, any of those topics, ask yourself, am I where I'm supposed to be? And if there's any anger that comes up from the surface or from under the surface, you have to dig into it. You have to ask yourself more questions. What can I do that will get rid of this anger? How can I alleviate the way I'm feeling? Instead of just bottling it up and hoping to God it never gets the fuck out. Because guys, trust me, it will get out. That's why I don't drink anymore, okay? Because that's what I used to do all the time. I would bury everything down, and the second I got a little too much liquor in my body, it was World War III with anyone who caused me problems, all right? So you have to look at it very keenly and say, all right, I consciously believe I'm healthy. Somebody calling me fat makes me angry. So there's a dissonance between the two. What can I do to change my conscious beliefs? Because obviously the conscious beliefs are the ones that are bad here, because we're talking about myself. So if I'm getting angry, that means my conscious beliefs are not up to snuff with what I'm unconsciously aware of as being the truth. Even though you aren't technically aware, that's why it's unconscious, you are aware that there's dissonance. That anger is your indicator. That anger lets you know that there is something else that you are missing to reach your perfect idealistic lifestyle. If you want to be the healthiest version of yourself possible, but you can't stand to hear the words that you're fat, it's because there's probably something in between your conscious beliefs up here and the unconscious truth that you need to change in order to get there. All right? And that's the point. That's why we got to journal this stuff out. That's why you have to talk to yourself. It's not weird to talk to yourself. It's a sign of high IQ. Why wouldn't you talk to yourself? You understand yourself better than anyone else on the planet. So why wouldn't you ask yourself questions to try and get to the bottom answer of every single situation? It only benefits you. Only benefits you guys. All right? And so as we start to go through this, as we go through the work of writing these things out, figuring out what we can change, what we have to get rid of, that's when it's time to start reaffirming things and then tossing things out. So if you believe you're a healthy person, but you've been drinking way too much, maybe it's time to say, you know what? I'm going to cut back. I'm going to drink in moderation. And you have to reaffirm that to yourself. You have to keep telling yourself, I'm going to cut myself off after 2 beers. Only 2. Only 2. And I'm not saying everyone is the same, right? For me, I would rather keep it at 0 because I understand what happens to me once I touch 1. I want to drink 10, all right? That's my personality. I've come to terms with that. But for everyone, there's something we can do on the inside that is causing this wrath to come out. And we have to work on that internally. Everyone else on the outside is unimportant. Now, I don't want you to walk around like an asshole and be like, oh my God, I'm the king of the world, blah, blah, blah. Everyone bows down to me. I'm the only one that's important. It's not what I mean. I mean, your sense of well-being, your happiness, your sadness, whatever emotion it is up to you. You are in full control of it at all times. And so if something is really bothering you over time, you can either keep bottling it up and pushing it down, or you can start dealing with it. That's just genuine truth, guys. You either deal with it or you get exploded by it. Pick your poison. All right? End goal here is I want everyone to become like an alchemist, and they can start transmuting this anger into love or understanding or joy, bliss, whatever the higher emotion is, consciously as it comes up. So day-to-day interactions, you can see that somebody's bothered by something. You can kind of ask, or maybe they'll just tell you, hey, what's bothering you? And now the wheels are turning because you've been doing this work yourself. And you can see, be like, oh, you know what? They consciously believe this one thing, but unconsciously this is probably what the truth is. And so if I can maybe tell them a story, or if I could say something that I've dealt with in my own life, maybe I can help them deal with this in theirs. And this is what I'm talking about when I say transmuting consciously to love. You see people around you suffering, help them. Help them understand how to deal with their emotions. Help them understand that that wrath, that anger, whatever that emotion is inside of them, they are the ones that are in control of it. It's no one else. It never has been anything else on the outside. It's just our ability to understand our own psyches and the lies that we've implanted consciously into ourselves versus the unconscious truths that sit down here, somewhere near your heart, okay? We all know what that truth is. We just like to consciously ignore it and like to think that our ego is always right, all right? We know that's the truth. It always has been. It's hard to look at things and realize that we are our own worst villain, okay? We've always been our worst villain. But now is the time to start turning that around and saying, no, I'm my own biggest hero. All right, guys? So start going through the day, transmuting any type of emotion you feel. Write it down, okay? It's not going to help you to just get angry, upset, and ruminate on it. If you do that, you're probably going to start thinking about things from the past that made you also angry. And what's worse than that is once you start thinking about angry things from the past, they're probably going to keep showing up into your future. So instead, let's work to understand these emotions. Let's work to really push towards the love, so not only can we repair the traumas from our past, but our future is going to look brighter and more prosperous with every single day that passes us by. All right. Love you guys.